Welcome to the Braless Bios Part 8. I'm Vuyanzi. If you don't know that by now, go watch the other seven episodes of this series. But anyway, I'm just telling you a little bit about myself. So we're going to speed up. That was a lot of childhood stuff, but we'll fast forward a few decades there. And maybe something that you didn't know about me. Did you know that I am a divorcee or divorcee? I am divorced. I was married once, and only one time, and that wasn't till later on in my life. How old was I? I was almost 40 when I got married. But anyway, I'll just give you some different things about my marriage story. Yeah, I know, to my ex-husband, I see you. You probably are going to watch this. Don't worry. The guilty shall be protected. Just kidding. So I'll just tell you some stories about me and me getting married. Yeah, I got married a little bit later on in life. A very small wedding at my church. At that time, the church was called True Vine Christian Center. That was in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. And so the way that you know a marriage is destined to fail. Yeah, we'll call you Big B because we know who you are. That's my ex who might see this. Something now that stands out to me is after the preacher said, like, and I now pronounce you man and wife or whatever it was, like that. Big B, well, that's my ex-husband. Big B let out this tremendous scream from his belly. So, but he was, of course, a deeper voice than me, and it was like, "Woo!" like that. And I know someone has to hear me out the window. And that it troubled me. In retrospect, it troubled me. I was like, what is that about? Okay, but we go on. So when we were about to exit, I had a specific song that I wanted to sing. This song by Jennifer Hudson, Dressed Up in Love. Some of you know it from the last scene in Sex and the City, the movie. All dressed up in love. Okay, that was the gospel version of it, but she, of course, sings it a lot better. But anyway, that song was supposed to play. They couldn't get the CD to work, so I just walked out in silence. Then when we got to the venue where we were having the dinner, I think my friend's husband was supposed to bring the music. Something happened, so there was no music. And anyone who really knows me and knows if music is not involved in an event, there's something wrong with that. And also the service was so slow. I remember that day. The service was like really slow, no music, so people just kind of there. I mean, people were talking, but me and music just go like hand in hand, maybe finger to finger, whatever that is. And in the end, the video of our wedding ceremony was lost. All of that, and we have not been married 24 hours. So what I can tell you is, like, I think there was some flags. They weren't even red by then, they were just purple. The flags were tired. The flags were like, all right, we just purple now. We just been flying for so long. So listen, the first like from my honeymoon, this was probably not the best thing to do, but from my honeymoon, actually, I left because I used to be in a job that was traveling a lot. So, and if anyone knows about the United States, East Coast, West Coast, I lived on the East Coast, New Jersey at the time. The job that I was working was on the West Coast. So we combined a honeymoon with work. Don't ever do that. Don't combine your honeymoon with work. That's stupid. And that's what I did, because the money was so good at that time. And so I said, okay, so we can go on we'll go to California. That's where I was working, and that'll be our honeymoon. And then I'll just honeymoon for 2 days, and then I'll work. He would be there at the hotel. It's a very nice, cute boutique hotel, and I'd just be going to work every day. The way that job used to work, it was pretty much working. We were working 12-hour shifts. So it wasn't like I'm going to work for 8 hours and at least we have time. I was working 12-hour shifts, period. And then after he left, I still stayed. I was pretty much gone, I think, for like the first year of our marriage. For the most part, I was traveling. And I remember talking to a friend of mine that was a former colleague, and I was on the phone. I was like, I love being married. And she's like, girl, you haven't been home. You haven't lived with your husband. You haven't lived with your husband in like a year. I was like, maybe that's why I loved marriage so much, because I wasn't living with anyone. I was living like a single woman. We'd have friends, it would be a few of us consulting. We'd all be friends, sometimes having parties on days off and things like that. And I want to say that when I did get back and work got slow, and this was around the crash of, 2008, 2009, things got slow. Money got tight or whatever. And then when I don't know, like I was cut out for that at that time. And it was just I found marriage to be stressful. I had a stepson at that time. I also had 2 stepdaughters, but my stepson lived with us. Plus my 3 kids, my daughter was at college. The twins were there. Plus I was taking care of my nephew, plus my godbrother who was older in college at the time. It was a lot going on. So I think it became a pretty strenuous situation. Even to the point that it got so toxic between my husband and I mean, it took two people to tango. So I talk about myself and I did a Facebook about this a long time ago, that towards the end of our marriage, there was a point that I could not walk for like a few days. And to this day, there's no rhyme or no reason why I could not support my own body. I'm a healthy individual. However, we can say now it was probably the stress that I was feeling from being in my marriage. I remember my mother and one of my sisters coming over and praying for me. Then, like when I could kind of get up to walk, I remember going to the rheumatologist. They ran tests. Nothing was wrong. And eventually I started seeing, that's when I first started seeing a therapist. And I knew soon the marriage would be over. And that was the 3rd year. And so I remember when it was about time for us to really be separated, we had made the decision. So my therapist was like, listen, when he gets ready to leave, you might feel something, you feel bad. So she's like, it's normal. Sorry, Big B. I'm about to tell the truth. The day that he left, I think the heavens opened, the angels sang, and God said, I am well pleased. Oh my goodness. It was just meant to be over at that point. It was meant to be over. Listen, Big B is not a bad person. We were just not meant to be together in a marriage. He's a good guy. I'm sure he has a wonderful woman and his children are great and all this. And in fact, I love his mother. I still keep in touch with his brother. And by the way, we separated in 2013. I still keep in touch. His brother, I still call my brother-in-law to this day. I've even seen him just a few months ago. So that's why I say it just was not meant for he and I to be together. And here's the other part. We stayed separated for 10 years because of insurance and some of my kids being covered, blah, blah, blah. But last year, finally, I think this is the first time I'm saying this in public. We finally divorced. If you want to make a comment, Big B, You can. I think we divorced. It was like March 31st or something like that. And it was just really quickly, real quick. It wasn't anything ugly or drawn out because he had signed some papers. And I swear to you, it was like they said the judge will call you at this time. The judge calls. I answer the phone. It was like 10 minutes and that was it. And that was my very non-eventful, thank God, divorce. That is my marriage story. So now you know. All right, this has been, what was this? Part 8. I was once married.